predicted to be a more active than normal hurricane season, and here we are just the first week of the hurricane season and looking at our third named storm of the year already. Although I saw a report the other night that said that's not all that unusual or indicative of a bad season or a good season. And for the most part, a bad season versus a good season is dependent upon where they go. If they all go up, horrific though they may be, the Atlantic coast, then we look upon it as a good year. But if they all come our way, as they did in 2005, 15 years ago, Katrina, worst ever in the history of weather forecasting and reporting, followed 3 weeks later by Rita, a horrific top 10 all-time hurricane in and of itself, will be very, very adversely affected by it. Compounded this year by the ongoing pandemic crisis, and in the event of the necessity of evacuation, it does make it more challenging, in particular for more vulnerable parts of our population, to find a safe place to hunker down out of harm's way as the hurricane makes its way into our state.
What tips do you have for people when it comes to preparation?
Well, no question about it. The first thing they need to do is get with their professional, their insurance agent, and go over all of their coverages. The media, like yourself, makes itself available, its viewers and listeners, available to me annually here at the beginning of the hurricane season to give that kind of advice. And the first thing I advise is make a visit to your insurance professional. Go over all of your insurance coverages, your deductibles, in particular named storm deductibles that are on almost every homeowner's policy these days, and many commercial property policies as well. Secondly, take advantage of the best insurance buy any property owner anywhere in our state can make, and that is the still significantly subsidized by the federal government National Flood Insurance Program. As I said, whether you're in Shreveport, Grand Isle, Cameron, or Monroe, it is the best insurance buy because all of our properties are extremely vulnerable to not just rains associated with hurricanes, but flash floods, overtopping of riverbanks in the spring flood season. All of it annually and year-round is a big threat, more to Louisiana properties than anywhere else in the state. And number three, as you prepare, as we go into the hurricane season, take out your cell phone, walk through your home, and document your assets as they are today before they're damaged by flood, fire, tree coming through the roof, what have you. It makes making your claim, once you have such a loss, so much easier. And number four, if you are forced to evacuate, take with you your important documents, your insurance policies, the contact information for how to reach your agent so that you can start the claims process sooner rather than later. The sooner you get in line, the sooner you'll get your adjustment and get your money and get your property repaired and get your life back together.
How many people in Louisiana take advantage of the flood insurance? 500,000
policies in our state. A 25% penetration of residential property statewide. And it varies, for example, here in the Baton Rouge area and over in Lafayette. When the 2016 flooding event happened, only 10-12% of the properties, the residential properties, had flood insurance in place. Today, it's at the statewide average of 25% because of the lesson learned in 2016. In the greater New Orleans metropolitan area, it's actually over 40% in Orleans, Jefferson, Plaquemine, and St. Bernard, because over the past several decades, they have experienced 100-year floods every 5 years and learned in the process the value of the National Flood Insurance Program and the coverage it makes at an affordable price.
What is the procedure to purchase flood insurance?
Contact your agent or go online and contact the National Flood Insurance Program directly. That can be done through our website, LDI, Louisiana Department of Insurance, .la.gov, or call us. We'll help you through the process at 800-259-5300, LDI.la.gov.
What is the time frame in terms of purchasing flood insurance?
Great question. And in order to avoid what is called in the insurance world adverse selection, you must buy your policy 30 days before your coverage goes into effect. So with the event that's happening, that's heading our way today, that's already too late, because you have to wait from the time you acquire your coverage 30 days before the coverage begins. Same thing with homeowners insurance or property insurance. It's not a 30-day wait period. It's that the companies stop writing new policies when a storm enters the Gulf of Mexico until that storm makes landfall and dissipates. So you can't wait until a hurricane is headed our way in order to get protection for your property. You have to do it 30 days or before the storm enters the Gulf of Mexico.
What is the situation with storm damage versus wind damage and rain damage?
Well, in that wind versus flood discussion that was so prevalent after Hurricane Katrina, we actually didn't have as much of that as our neighbors in Mississippi, because they actually had a storm surge that wiped all the property off the slab for a half mile or more inland from the beach. We had broken levees that allowed the water to rise from the ground up. So it reached its peak and left a watermark that was the differential between flood coverage and wind coverage for damage above the watermark. So that issue is also always prevalent in hurricane damage and the aftermath in processing claims, but for our purposes, it's not as big a challenge as with coastal areas where there's lots of population and development right there on the coast. Our marshland is pretty much vacant and not occupied and not developed like those with beachfront properties.
In conclusion, what is your advice, and how can people get more information?
Well, the advice is get with your agent, go over your coverages, know what your coverage is and what it's not, meaning your deductible, in particular hurricane deductible, between typically 2 and 5% of your insured value, not the damage that you suffer. So a $200,000 home insured for $200,000 with a 3% named storm deductible has a $6,000 out-of-pocket deductible before damage from a hurricane event kicks in to start paying for that damage. Secondly, access the flood insurance program. Since 1978, we've collected $19 billion from the NFIP. The second most benefited state in America, Texas, is $15 billion. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are New York, New Jersey, Superstorm Sandy, and Florida, down in the $6 billion range. So that makes the point that we more than any other state, take benefit from that federally subsidized National Flood Insurance Program. For assistance, contact us. Go to our website, ldi.la.gov, or contact us by phone, 800-259-5300.